You're listening to the Zach Gelb Show on Fox Sports 920 The Jersey.
All right, welcome back into the Princeton Orthopedic Associates studios. This is the Zach Gelb Show right here on Fox Sports 920 The Jersey, 920 a.m. in Bucks, Burlington, and Mercer counties, or worldwide on the web at 920thejersey.com. 4:17 is the time from our Princeton Orthopedic Associates studios. If there's a basketball conversation, there's one man that's always around it, and that's my man, Brett MacConnell, the assistant coach for the Princeton basketball team. Brett, good to see you. How are you?
Thanks for having me, Zach. It's great time of year. I was hoping for a little bit of tighter finals here. We'll see.
This thing's over. You agree with that, right?
I'm afraid to say I do.
Okay. It just stinks. The state of basketball right now is just absolutely awful.
Well, that's dramatic, right? The state of basketball.
Professional basketball.
The NBA playoffs have been far from super exciting.
It's just not fun to watch.
I think it's the worst NBA playoffs of my lifetime that I can remember.
Oh, no question.
There really has been very few competitive series. There's been injuries. I mean, it sucks seeing Tony Parker, Kawhi Leonard, these guys go down and not be at 100%. Isaiah Thomas. I mean, too many injuries and not enough even playing field, seems like.
And you know what makes it worse? All year long, we talked it up to ourselves. For example, it's a two-team race. In reality, this thing from the start was just a one-team race.
I held out hope that the finals, this series, could make up for what was a pretty poor conference finals series and the entire playoffs, and that hope, there's no hope left, I don't think, unfortunately. But Cavs are coming back at home. Crazier things have happened. I don't think the Cavs can win it, but can they make it interesting? I hope.
You would be a good boxing promoter because you just got people tied in again.
Yeah.
All right, maybe there's some hope tonight for this Game 3. Brett MacConnell with us, the assistant for the Princeton basketball team. Yesterday, I saw Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was in Princeton at the Princeton graduation. How about that?
Yeah, got a Doctor of Humanities degree.
I'll never be able to get one of those.
Never say never. Never say never, Zach.
Dr. Gelb, that would never happen. That was cool. So did any of the kids get to meet him or anything?
I think they did. Unfortunately, I couldn't stay for the end of it, and I didn't get a chance to. I think they did. I haven't gotten to ask, but pretty cool that he got that. He has a Sky Hooked Foundation where he provides educational opportunities for underprivileged kids and does a lot more than just basketball. So really cool that he would be honored. And I didn't know he was even going to be there.
I didn't either.
Coach Henderson sent me a photo. He saw him first, sent me a photo.
Oh, wow.
Kareem's in the building.
Wait, hold on. Coach Henderson didn't even know he's going to be there.
He might have kept that a secret.
Gotcha.
We're not always in the loop on all that stuff. Yeah.
What was it like to see your kids get the degree? It culminated this year, obviously, with the championship, the undefeated run in the Ivy. But to get that degree, because you go to school and you're going to play basketball, but it's mainly about getting that degree too, especially in the Ivy.
Yeah, no question. I mean, this isn't just any degree, right? The Princeton degree is incredible accomplishment for these guys and will serve them well throughout the rest of their lives whenever basketball's done, and we're certainly really proud of them. A ton of hard work that they put in, and to balance that with as much of a grind as the basketball season can be and as much effort as they put in on the basketball side of things, it's really a great accomplishment.
How do you replace these seniors?
Man, it's going to be tough. You won't replace them man for man, but you hope collectively everybody can pick up a little bit of the slack. Certainly the rising seniors now have to take on a lot of leadership roles. The rising juniors now, Miles Stevens and Devin Kennedy, I can't believe I'm saying it, are going to be juniors. They're going to be upperclassmen. The leadership roles that they have to take on will be expanded. And then hopefully some of your freshmen can contribute on the court as freshmen.
Now with Miles, because Miles seems like a quiet kid, and there could be a side to Miles that we don't see as you see it because you're his assistant coach for the Princeton basketball team. But Miles is a really good player. We know that he leads by example with his play on the court, and he sets the standard. How is he right now as a leader?
Yeah, I mean, that's something. He is a quiet guy, but I think he knows that that's one of the next steps for him in his development. And actually this spring, I think he took some of those first steps in becoming a little bit more vocal. But he doesn't have to be vocal to be a leader. You know, he can lead by example with his work ethic, with the way he goes about his business in drills, in the weight room, on the court, in practice. There's a lot of ways without just being vocal, but I do see him taking those next steps vocally too.
Now, we knew this was going to happen, as you were explaining to me via text, with the rules in the Ivy, but Hans Brace and Henry Caruso not going to be with the team. They had to transfer. Just how about those two guys and the decisions that they made?
Yeah, it's a tough rule in the Ivy League. as a graduate student, you have no eligibility in the Ivy League. So with them both graduating, they won't have another year with us at Princeton. We certainly wish them the best, and they've been major parts of our program. So it's unfortunate the way it goes. There's a long list of guys. Cal had Grant Mullins, who was a point guard this year at Cal, who had graduated. Sean Miller is a guy that was at UConn. From Cornell, I believe he graduated last year from UConn. So there's a long list of guys that played their fifth years elsewhere, and it's unfortunate.
Now, your scouting report coming up next year, it's going to be tough to replicate what you did last year with all that you lose, but as a team that's still going to be very competitive at Jadwin Gymnasium, just give me a little bit about some of the new faces coming in, and then also some of the guys that you have here right now that we've seen before that you really need to push and have them take that next step.
Yeah, I think it starts with the seniors, and I mentioned them a little bit, but all 5 of those guys are guys that have either played important minutes in spots or have knocked on the door to play important minutes. We all know Amir Bell and the season he had, the conference season he had. We want him to build on that. He was our team MVP. We named him team MVP at our postseason banquet. He's going to have a big leadership role. Aaron Young, Alec Brennan are guys that both were in the rotation this year, had some really big moments. Aaron had 18 in a win over Liberty, but we need more of that more consistently from Aaron and Alec. And then Mike LeBlanc and Jackson Forbes are 2 other seniors that can certainly help us, and we're looking forward to them taking the next step.
Now, with Amir, because he got off to a slow start last year, he made the change to coming off the bench, and then he really just went on a run, and he was your team MVP like you were just saying. How do you get him off to a better start this year? Is it just a mental thing, or is he just going to show up and be ready to go?
To be honest, I don't think about it. I hope Amir's not thinking about it. I think it's less of him being something different at the end of the season and more just a little slump he hit. But in 3 years, he's had one tough stretch. After starting every game for 2 years as a freshman and sophomore, he had one tough stretch. And I'm not thinking about it. I don't think he's thinking about it, and we won't be looking back.
Break down, I know it's early, but break down the rest of the conference for me. Who are the top dogs in this conference next year?
Harvard has had a lot of great young talent this year.
Yale?
Yale's going to be good, too. Yale has Makai Mason coming back, who was their star of their NCAA tournament run 2 years ago as a sophomore. 2 years ago as a sophomore. He was going to be a senior this year. He's announced he's doing his 5th year at Baylor, actually. So he's another one of those guys that won't be able to stay in the Ivy League as a graduate student. So those 2 teams are going to be really good. Penn's going to give us a whole lot of trouble. Columbia is going to be good. The top to bottom, I mean, I'd be remiss not to name everybody, because Cornell had 2 really good sophomores this year in Stone Gettings and Matt Morgan. Top to bottom, the league is really good.
Brett MacConnell with us right now on the Zach Gelb Show, Fox Sports 920, the Jersey. Of course, he is the assistant coach for the Princeton basketball team. All right, let's get to the NBA.
Let's do it.
Defending the Warriors. You're a bright, young basketball mind. I'm going to give you the most impossible question to try to answer. Delve into it. How do you try to defend this team tonight?
As I was thinking overall about some changes that the Cavs could make and some things that are going to be important to them, just trying to make this thing a little bit more interesting, I think the first thing, it goes beyond the X's and O's of their defensive scheme, and it's just a mentality. They need to be mentally tougher, more resilient. The Warriors' offense is incredible. I mean, you're going to have to fight through a 10-0 run that you give up within the blink of an eye. I mean, the pace they play at, the talent they have, you're going to give up some really tough runs. You're going to feel like, man, nothing we can do. There's nothing we can do to get back in this, but you have to fight and scrap and claw so that instead of a wide open shot for Steph Curry when he's going to shoot 90%, maybe that extra effort you make, it's a 70% shot or a 50% shot or a 40% shot. So they need to be more resilient, play with some more mental toughness, make the extra effort. They gave up transition layups and dunks to Kevin Durant in Game 1 like it was nothing. So I think some extra effort defensively will go a long way. I also think, and this might help him offensively and defensively, but if Love plays some minutes at the 5, It makes them a little bit more versatile defensively, 1 through 4. They're going to be switching at a lot of those positions, and to be honest, the Warriors guys are pretty interchangeable between Curry and Thompson and Durant. They're all really good perimeter threats. So I think if they go a little bit smaller with Love at the 5, the 4 perimeter guys might be a little bit more versatile, and it'll give them a little bit of a better shot defensively.
It's a nice answer, and it's a good attack at it. You did your best job, but I just look at it. For example, LeBron put up a triple-double the other night. Steph goes off with a triple-double to just negate that. KD then fills up every statistic on the stat sheet. Clay has the most quiet 22-7 you'll ever see. And Draymond was basically a non-factor, but a non-factor for them because of the fouls was still 12 points and 6 rebounds.
Yeah. It's amazing, too. You mentioned Clay. He was, I think, 8 for 12 from the field, 4 for 7 from 3. Like, so efficient. No one even talks 1 second about him. They're unbelievable. They're
the
awesome.
Current state of the NBA, because you've been watching the NBA for a long time. How do you evaluate this right now?
Let me ask you this, Zach.
Go
Are
ahead.
the Warriors, in my lifetime, and maybe I was a little bit on the younger side.
When does your lifetime start?
I'm 31.
When you actually
I'm
watch
31.
basketball?
Yeah. I mean,
You're 31?
I'm 31. I know. How
I
about
thought you
it?
were in your 20s.
Yeah.
Oh, well, yeah, you were under the 30 list and everything.
Yeah,
You win all these
I
awards.
just squeezed it in just in time. But 31, so born in 86. I was on the younger side of MJ's dynasty. But has there been a better, more dominant team than the Warriors? I mean, this is incredible.
It's a tough question
because
to answer.
They're playing against the best player in the world is on the Cavs, 2 other All-Stars in Kyrie and Kevin Love on the Cavs, and they're making it look so easy.
It's absurd, and we're going to have BJ Armstrong on later in the show.
Yeah.
He said the other day that the 96 Bulls, or not the 90s, just some of those Bull teams in the 90s, they couldn't play in this era.
Yeah.
That's what he said.
Yeah.
So those teams in the 90s couldn't play in this era? Now, I disagree with that a little bit. I think we would get a very good series if those teams matched up, but with this team, you have LeBron playing at his best. He's the best player on the planet. There's just no answer for them. I've tried to break this thing down all week long, just trying to break it down. There is no answer how to stop them. Because if you stop one, you still have 3 guys. Let's say they take Durant out of the game. You still have 3 guys that already won a championship together.
I know. I mean, LeBron tried his damnedest to put them on his back in Game 2. In that first half, he was incredible, and they're down 70-67 at halftime. I mean, he couldn't do anything more. What more could he have done?
I'll tell you, though, I love these types of conversations because then you'll get the Bill Russell crew and saying, oh, no one could beat those Celtics teams. Oh, no one could beat the Showtime Lakers, the Bulls. It's a fascinating argument. It really is.
Yeah.
But this team, in my lifetime, which is I'm turning 23 in August, I have never seen a team that is better offensively than this team. Yeah. And it's amazing with the standard they set last year, and now they're even better because you add Durant.
And they're really good defensively, too. And
they are.
I think that's the biggest jump Durant's taken. You watch defensively in Game 2 some of the things he did on Kyrie or a couple different matchups he had, but he used his length, he moved his feet, blocking shots. I mean, they're really good defensively, too.
And they were asked that to Steve Kerr the other day. They asked him, how did you teach your guys to play this good at defense? And he said, I didn't teach them. It was Mark Jackson. Can you imagine being Mark Jackson?
I think about that all the time.
You're in the building every night doing the games. You were so close with your team. You set the foundation. You were there when they drafted all these guys and built this whole thing up. And now this team is not only going to win this year, that's 2 championships in 3 years, but if they could keep this group together, and even if they lose one player, they're still going to be in this thing for the next few years. Steve Kerr, if he hangs around with this back injury, they'll win like 4, 5, 6 championships.
Yeah, I mean, it almost breaks your heart for Mark Jackson, but I'll tell you, he's handled it with absolute class. Every time, on air, off the air, whatever.
Yeah,
he's
right.
handled it with class. And for Steve Kerr, who could have some insecurities about Mark Jackson and the job he did, for him to say that, in an interview when they ask him about the defense to credit Mark Jackson,
very classy.
That's awesome.
Now, here we go. To try to make the other teams in the league better, you hear the rumors Chris Paul to San Antonio. You hear the rumors maybe Melo goes to Cleveland. If Melo goes to Cleveland, or if Chris Paul goes to San Antonio, how much of a chance does those teams then have to take down the Warriors?
Give you one more. Gordon Hayward to Boston, and
still not enough.
And they have the number 1 draft pick.
Okay, so let's say they get Fultz.
I mean, yeah.
That'd be a good team.
To be honest, I don't know. It's hard to say with all these different moving pieces. And I don't even know what to root for. Do I root for these other teams to catch the Warriors so we have 3 or 4 super teams? And then
at this point, yes.
I guess you have to, but then the drop-off is going to be so steep after these top 3 or 4 teams. So I guess there's no looking back. There's no taking Durant off the Warriors. So that's the only thing we can root for is a couple people to compete with them.
Did you like that decision of his?
I did not.
Okay, give me the explanation on it.
I just... Listen, I mean, he has every right to do what he wants to do, and I've never been in that situation or that position. But there's a part of me that knows that if I'm playing in a pickup game 5-on-5 and you just beat me at the buzzer in Game 7, I want a rematch. I want to make up for this the way the last one ended. And the last thing I want to do is switch teams. Now, this is a much bigger deal. It's the NBA, we're talking about. It's his career. It's his livelihood.
Not Brett McConnell's 17-year-old pickup
Not
games.
my pickup game in Jadwin, with Sky Etten.
When you're going
2-on-2.
shirt and skin and everything.
So totally different. But there's a part of me that wishes Durant said, hey, Russ and I are coming back to knock off the Warriors next year. That's,
Let's say if KD wasn't on the Warriors, what's this series at right now? Your Warriors, Cavs, rematch of last year.
1-1 right now?
1-1?
I'm
Okay.
saying 1-1. I mean, the last
probably
one went
LeBron's,
7.
Yeah.
So it would go 7 again, I would think.
I would hope so.
It would have been a heck of a series. I would have liked to seen it again.
It would have been more fun. Maybe KD should just say, hey, I'm going to retire for these next few games so we can actually
I've
get a
made
good
my
game.
mark. You guys know the impact I had. You guys finish it up.
Wrapping up with Brett McConnell. I'll tell you, though, with the Sixers, because I was someone that was originally against the process and Joel Embiid and everything.
Trust the process.
And we'll get the Joel Embiid trust the process sound bite in there as well. I absolutely love that. But now I see the brilliance of what Sam Hinkie was trying to do. Because that's the only way now that you could try to compete with a team like the Warriors. Stink for a bunch of years.
Yeah.
And then you get a Embiid, assuming he could stay healthy, which is a big assumption. A Simmons, whoever they'll get at number 3 in the draft this year. And then that's your big 3, just like the Warriors built their big 3. Not saying it's going to be as successful. And then eventually every team has to add in that big free agent.
Yep. But the way it goes now, to attract that free agent, you have to have a team ready to win a title. Is the way it goes. So you're right. You need those 3 guys that you kind of homegrown guys that you drafted, and then maybe you can add a piece by free agency.
With the draft, since you did bring it up, the number 1 pick, a lot of people, the general consensus is it's going to be Markelle Fultz. What's your scouting report on Fultz?
I haven't seen enough of him, to be honest. It's funny because the first game of the season, we were out playing at BYU, and the night before our game, Yale was playing at Washington.
Oh, wow.
And Yale beat Washington. It was like opening night of the season for Yale. And that's really the only time I got to see Fultz. And that's what's so interesting. Usually you talk about a number 1 pick, and we've all seen him in the NCAA tournament. And this is a rare case where that hasn't been.
Last 2 years.
Last 2. Oh,
Simmons
right.
at LSU.
Yeah, you're right about that. Yeah.
You could have given me 1,000 guesses. I would have never predicted that back-to-back years, assuming Fultz goes 1, that a kid from LSU and then a kid from Washington go number 1 in the NBA draft.
Yeah.
And both didn't make the tournament.
That is amazing.
Wild. Okay, let me run also something else by you. The LeVar Ball situation.
Mm-hmm.
And last time you were in it, we actually had to move your time
That's
around
right.
to accommodate
That's
LeVar
right.
Ball
Yeah.
on these airwaves. We
Yeah.
had Rick Barry on the other day, and Rick Barry basically just said he wants this guy to just shut it and let his kids play, do the talking. Is that where you are with the situation as well?
I mean, I won't speak specifically to LeVar Ball, but I think if I have a son this successful, I will not do quite as much talking. If that answers the question, it's not my style, but maybe there's a method to his madness. I don't know. Is he a mad scientist? It's not necessarily how I would go
There's
about
definitely
things.
a method to his madness.
Yeah.
He's just trying to get the kid the most publicity as possible and profit off of it.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah, I'll tell you that my thing is, whatever is going to make Lonzo successful in the NBA is ultimately going to be the best thing for his popularity. So that would be my mindset if I'm LeVar. How can I put my son in the best position to succeed? Because the rest of it's going to fall into place. He's already going to be a lottery pick. If he's an all-star, if he ever gets to be an MVP, it won't matter what his dad said or didn't say. So what can I do to put him in a position to have a really great career in wherever it is?
Now, his shot's unorthodox, but it goes in, so that's all that matters. But just to give me a little bit, because we see a lot of times, and I'm not saying it's with this kid, but with Josh Jackson, for example, he shot 37% from three this past year, and everyone says, oh, you could fix your shot at the next level at the NBA. Just give me a little bit of the philosophy on that.
I think fixing a shot is...
It's tough.
That's not an easy thing. Not an easy thing, especially in the NBA when the three-point line goes back a few feet. That can make a big difference.
But so many people nowadays, they easily just say, "Oh, he can fix it at the next level. He'll be fine. Don't worry about it."
You know what makes it hard is there's guys on both sides of the aisle, and you look at Kawhi Leonard, who was not a very good shooter coming out of college. And
San Diego State, yeah.
The improvements that he's made are incredible, and he's he works his butt off and is really humble and obviously has great coaching too. So there's going to be both sides to those equations about guys that have developed the shooting part of their games. And even LeBron has taken some steps. But if I'm drafting a top 3, 4, 5 pick and I'm counting on him drastically improving something as important as shooting, that would worry me.
I'll tell you, with this draft, there's so many intriguing storylines to follow, and we'll see what happens at the end of the month with the draft coming up at the end of June. But with all that being said, we talked Fultz, we talked Ball, we talked a little bit about Josh Jackson. The Kentucky kids, to me, the two of them, in Fox and then also Monk. I think Monk's going to be a tremendous NBA player. Just have someone get him the ball.
Make shots.
Oh, he just makes shots. And even the game against UNC, when he didn't even have a good game, he made 2 enormous shots at the end of the game. But also Fox. Fox is someone, 20-something% shooter from 3. We could have to see how his game will translate at the NBA level because everyone loves him. Larry Brown loves him, and that's a bright basketball mind, but how is that shot going to be at the next level?
Yeah. The other guy I wanted to mention that we haven't talked about that I'm rooting for, Jason Tatum, is a high school teammate of Will Gladson, AAU teammate of Will Gladson. They're really close, so that's one I have a close eye on and kind of fingers crossed that he's maybe somewhere nearby. What do you know about him?
Obviously, big name and everything.
Yeah, I mean,
from Duke.
Great kid, and because I got to watch Will a lot in high school and AAU, I grown to really like Tatum and think he's going to translate well.
The first time you saw him, what were you writing down?
Lottery pick. He was a rising junior probably at the time. I was like, no brainer, lottery pick.
All right, before we let you run, Brett MacConnell with us. Last one tonight. Give me a prediction.
I'll tell you, I've been saying since Game 2 ended, and I was a little maybe emotional about how that game ended and just thinking like this series is over. And people kind of bringing me back down to earth like, hey, the Cavs are back at home, maybe some momentum, maybe the travel wears on the Warriors a little bit. I mean, it'd be really hard for me to pick against the Warriors, but I think it's going to be a good game. I hope it's going to be a good game.
Within 10, yes or no?
Yes, within 10, yes.
I hope so.
What's the spread?
I think it was the Cavs. The Warriors were favored by, it opened up as like 2 or 3 point favorites.
That sounds right.
Yeah.
Should be a close game.
See, everyone is going to take the Warriors. That's the only hope I have for this game. Everyone off that spread is going to take the Warriors. 2 or 3 points is the easiest thing, and then maybe the Cavs could win, but I'm not going to be bold enough to say that. Yeah. I just don't see how. I honestly feel like, and I said going into this series, my intern Adam and I, we had this debate. I originally said Warriors in 5, and then like everyone else, I tried to talk myself up to 6 games, and I went Warriors in 6. This could be a sweep. And imagine if they do sweep, because then it's 16 games in the playoffs, 16 wins.
Unreal.
And then we talked about earlier with the Bulls and all the teams of the past, then that conversation of greatest team of all time, not saying they are, but then that will pick up a lot of buzz.
You know who was 16-0 in the Ivy League this year?
Oh, yeah, some team that plays somewhere.
I got to make that little plug there.
Hey, you already did enough with the Instagram, putting Cook next to Steph Curry.
There's a lot of similarities there. Yeah. A lot of similarities.
How's that feeling when you win? When you walked out of that gym, especially with the way that it led up with the Penn game, which you guys won, and you guys pulled the rabbit out of the hat with that one.
Yeah, unreal. And what's even, the better feeling is seeing the way the guys feel and just seeing the emotion on their faces, the excitement, the exuberance, like awesome to see.
When you're in your car, is there just a moment, let's say you're on a long trip, you're going somewhere, recruiting something, that you just go, wow, we won the Ivy this year.
It almost gets better the further you get from it. You look back and you're like, wow, that was incredible what we did. Like, that's really hard to do.
It definitely is undefeated. We wish you best of luck.
Thanks
and
a lot.
let me just tell you how it works in this industry. You better do it again next year or we start ripping you.
Yeah, I know it. I know it. There's more pressure now next year.
You better not start off 0-2 in the Ivy because then Brett MacConnell comes in next year and we're starting to rip you. And I know you guys had a rough start to the year last year.
We start 0-2. I'm going to be so happy we have the conference tournament, right? So I won't be worried about it.
All right, 442 from the Princeton Orthopedic Associates Studios. Brett, thank you so much for coming in.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, Zach.